And I came here in 1986 to run it for myself, and I signed the papers, and I was owner of the Red Barn Incorporated. People come in here for the experience, more so than I think anything else. And they love the fact that somebody's actually taking the time to listen. Maybe you learn in proportion to how much you listen and care. If you can find that balance between doing what you love that isn't really work, that might pay the bills, and can resonate with people and actually to some extent help people. Without my customers, I would be doing what I don't love, guaranteed.
Good morning. We're here today to present a check to Central Maine CATV from Modern Woodmen of America for $2,500. We recently conducted a joint fundraiser through the talent show that was put on by Central Maine CATV, and through generous donors to the station and Modern Woodmen's Match, we raised over $5,000. Thank you to everyone, and thanks to Modern Woodmen for contributing to this activity.
Thank you very much, Patrick. We certainly appreciate it.
Thank you, Patrick.
And the money raised is going to go to purchase some equipment for the station in a variety of ways. So we certainly appreciate all that Modern Woodmen has done for the station.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, how's it going, Mike?
Good, thanks. And Nick,
I don't
you
think
knew Winifred.
Winifred's not.
I wondered because I saw that she had posted online and I went to her house last night for a signature and she wasn't there.
Oh, yeah, oh, cool. I think she's like out at her lake cabin.
All right. Jump after. All right. Good evening. Welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Waterville City Council. Before we get started, if anybody would like a council agenda, they are on a plastic sleeve out back, and I'll ask our chair to please stand and lead us in the pledge.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to ask William from the Boy Scouts to lead it.
Wonderful.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, William. First up is community notes. Community notes is a time where if anybody has something they would like to speak about that is not currently scheduled to be spoken about tonight, now would be the time to do it. Please just come to the podium, tell us your name and where you live and what you have to say. So Mr. Roy coming up right now.
I'm Andy Roy, Ward 2, running the American School Kids Supplies nonprofit organization with Jeremy Lezot, and we're putting on the first annual Pie in the Face of the City Celebrity of Waterville. I do have the tickets. You have to have them in advance. Right now we have 4 ward members, the mayor, Chris Lyons, a couple people have reached out to LePage. We have Longstaff and Colleen Medjian. And we're still reaching out to the rest of the councilors, and Mike, if you...
I'll start the bidding at $20.
Anyway, we plan on having a good time. We did decide to do away with the dance part of it because of the room size. We can only max out at 400, so we're going to try to do that in the next couple of weeks. Chris Lyons is challenging LePage, King, and I believe Barkley as well. So we're going to see how that turns out. And Jeremy and I have decided, since you all are going to take a pie in the face, we're going to take a pie in the face with you. Because I wouldn't ask you guys to do something I wouldn't do myself.
Fair enough. What's the date of the event?
September 2nd. You can get the tickets at Jeremy's store locations, the Play Factory, You Broke It, and Rex Auto in Oakland. And if you can't get a hold of him during those business hours, my phone number is on the page. It's 509-0380, and I'll deliver the tickets to anyone that wants them.
What time on September 2nd?
5 o'clock. We start with a spaghetti dinner, and after that at 6:30, well, 6:45-ish, we'll have the pie auction. Should be fun.
Andy, have you got the Facebook post over to Amanda at City Hall?
I haven't. No, I haven't.
If you
I will.
could, if you just either contact Mike or Amanda. They'll put it on the city's Facebook page as well.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else for community notes?
Oh, forgive me, I'm a little nervous. I'm not really used to this forum.
Don't be.
My name is Matthew Crane. I live right down here downtown. I'm a student at Thomas College. I volunteer here in the community, and I attend the Pleasant Street United Methodist Church. So this community is important to me. I'm a transplant from Massachusetts, but I love it here in Waterville, really. I see a lot of my hometown here, and so I really like it. I was just told that I could come and share something here. So I'm organizing a peace vigil on Sunday to be held in the Veterans Memorial Park. It's pending approval from the city, so I should know in the next day or so. And it's going to be Sunday at 6 p.m. at Veterans Park. We're just going to gather in peace and just be together and without any hate, and just be together as a community. So hopefully it'll be approved, and but I'll be here at the end, so if anybody wanted to talk to me about it, that'd be fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else for community notes?
Do we have any conflicts that we'd like to discuss before we begin tonight? Thank you.
We'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Can I get a motion for the approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right, there is no unfinished business, and we're going to move on to new business, Resolution 122, 2017.
Move to read by title only.
Second.
All in favor?
A resolution providing for authorizing issuance of a second-hand license to Miguel Hidalgo and Edward West, doing business as Luna Night Day Antiques and Art LLC.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Resolution 123, 2017.
A resolution providing for cooperative purchase fiscal year 17-18 winter road salt. Be it resolved by the Waterville City Council acting as municipal officers that the city hereby authorizes the participation in a cooperative purchasing program for winter road salt as sponsored by the State of Maine Department of Transportation. Further, it is recommended that this year's road salt obtained through the cooperative purchasing program be provided by Harcross Chemicals Incorporated, Westbrook, Maine, at a per unit contract price of $54.39 per ton. The total anticipated cost for the purchase of 2,700 tons will be $146,853.00.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mike?
Yes, I'm here to ask to you to amend what was sent to you in the package. And I think the corrected copies were passed out to note that, and the last sentence would read, that this purchase is in accordance with the city's purchasing ordinance. Anytime we buy products or services, we're required to bid out unless you have one of 4 exemptions, and subsection A is one of those exemptions where we can piggyback onto a bid process that's already taken place. In this case, it was the DOT, the State Department of Transportation, that bid it out previous. So by piggybacking onto their bid, we get a very, very good price, because they have obviously a big volume. So if you could make that amendment, as shown on.
Can I get a motion for that amendment?
So moved.
So second.
All in favor of the amendment?
Move the resolution as amended.
Move the discussion as amended.
Second.
Excuse me, you move the motion as amended, excuse me.
Is there any discussion on the amended motion? Okay. All in favor? Resolution 124, 2017.
A resolution providing for a bid award fiscal year 17-18 motor fuels cooperative purchase agreement. Be it resolved by the Waterville City Council acting as municipal officers that the city be hereby authorized to award a bid through Maine Power Options for delivery of gasoline and diesel from July 1, 2017 to June 30th, 2018, according to the following. gasoline of Dennis K. Burke Oil Company from Chelsea, Mass. at .0725 fixed markup over rack, and diesel from Dennis K. Burke Oil Company, Chelsea, Mass. .0625 mixed markup over rack.
Can I get a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right, Mike?
And this is another one I'd ask you to amend, just to make that reference again to the purchasing ordinance.
Can I get that motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
Move the motion as amended.
Second.
Is there discussion on this? All in favor? Next resolution, 125, 2017.
A resolution providing for a bid award fuel island and underground storage tank replacement. Be it resolved by the Waterville City Council acting as municipal officer, that the city be hereby authorized to award a bid in the amount of $191,157.97 to Portland Pump Company of Scarborough, Maine. Further, that an additional $9,000.00 be allocated towards the purchase of a fuel key reader system.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Go ahead.
I'll just make the comment that this is a requirement of DEP, otherwise we would be fined heavily by the department, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right. We have it in writing from DEP that are they 30-year-old tanks, Mark? Yeah, have to be replaced.
And we did-
Fortunately, there's no leakage that's happened yet, but it's not a good idea to wait any longer.
Didn't we actually request a pass for this year and they said no anyway? Hadn't we asked for a waiver and the waiver was, yeah. And this was part of the municipal budget that was just passed anyway, the $200,000.
Right, this became one of our difficult capital improvement items at the end of the budget, but we really simply have to do it.
I just thought I'd make the comment to let people know that there's really no other way out of it. I mean, we couldn't
Yeah.
find any alternatives. This is what we needed to do.
Yep.
Like, are we expected to see another 30 years out of this, or would be more?
I believe it will be licensed for possibly a little bit more, but I'm not sure of the length.
Okay.
These will be double line systems, so they may have a longer lifespan.
And Mark, is from what I read and I understand, there's like a fail-safe mechanism now with these things as far as
Right.
detecting leakage. They
Automated
can be
leakage.
monitored all the time.
Yep, yep, round the clock, and instantaneous alarm systems that'll alert us for any malfunctions.
Thank you, Mark.
Great.
Thank you.
Any discussion or questions from the public? All right. All in favor? Resolution 126, 2017.
A resolution providing for a contract award for the city fire department's boiler replacement. Be it resolved by the Waterville City Council acting as municipal officers that the city council accepts the proposal from Mechanical Services in the amount of $54,973 for the installation of a new boiler at the fire station. Be it further resolved that the city council waives the bidding requirement of the city's purchasing ordinance as provided for in Article 5, subsection C.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Thank you.
I just wanted to remind the council that the bulk of this purchase is going to be coming from the sale of an old fire truck that we made last spring. So 30,000 out of the 55 comes from that sale, which we have, the money which we have, I guess it was in the spring, was it, or winter when we sold the truck? Spring, yeah. Yep.
And this is also an item that was included in the budget that we just passed.
Yes, this was another item, capital improvement item, that's right, that we decided to include at the end when we got to, finishing the budget negotiations. Fire station has 2 boilers, and I can let the chief explain it, or even Captain Gromek explain it a lot better, because we have the fire station, when it was renovated, expanded in 2004, 2003, 2004, had kept, obviously, the old building in place and a section added onto it. And so we ended up with 2 boilers as a result of that. And I'd be happy to answer questions from the council.
Real quickly, could you just explain, Mike, why are we waiving these bidding requirements as well?
Right, yes, thank you.
I mean,
Should have
This has
started.
been, it seems like it's been happening a lot.
it's been happening, you know, and I just was curious, just for clarification.
I'll take a crack at this one. But basically, mechanical services, we've been contracting with for almost a decade now to monitor online the functionality of our systems. And anybody else that would do the job would have to pay proprietary equipment so that mechanical services could keep on monitoring. It ended up costing more money, so I think that's...
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Should we go to discussion or questions from the council? I know we have somebody here from the public that wants to comment on this. Mr. Basford?
pass up the opportunity here. I'll do it.
You will pass it up? Okay. All right, with that, we'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Okay, I have 3 quick items, and then Patty has an item of great importance, more important than what I'm going to tell you, I think. First of all, while Mark is here, I wanted to thank him and his crew for last week because the recycling truck broke down last week. You know, that's the old Packer truck that we are using for recycling, and it was out of commission, I think, for 3 days or so. So they really had to scramble with manpower and equipment to get both jobs done, picking up trash, picking up recyclables, picking up trash, picking up recyclables for 3 days. And, you know, we knew this might happen when we got into the whole discussion about recycling and the fact that Sullivan's decided not to continue with curbside recycling. We took it upon ourselves to do it at a savings, but we're dealing with a very old truck. It's fixed now.
They're still working on it.
They're still working on it, but
By the end of the week, it'll be fixed, ready for next week.
ready for next week. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank Mark and his crew for what they did last week and making sure there wasn't any real interruption in services. My recycling stuff got picked up on Thursday, so I was happy. We're in the process of advertising for a code enforcement officer to take Garth's place, because Garth had, you know, told us that he's retiring. So the applications are due next week, and we'll start interviewing very soon thereafter. And I hope that the 2 counselors that were on, Lauren Lessing and Winifred Tate, can join us again in the interview. Good, thank you.
Mike, it was me.
Was it, I'm sorry,
It's okay.
Jackie. Sorry.
Jeez.
Okay.
That's why I'm here, to remind you, that's all. We sit right next to each other.
Yes, it's true.
So,
They're both women.
yeah.
Oh.
Both wear glasses, brown.
we've been-
Someone's not here.
Feeling the burn over here.
Yeah, I
Mike's gonna
know.
be
Well, we've
involved
been
next
through,
week.
unfortunately, you know, we've
Want me
been
to
through
just
3
move, please?
3 searches for department heads in the last 6 months. And so some of you have participated in different searches. We hired a finance director, right? IT director when Josh left. Now Garth is leaving. Please, no more. Please. The last item I have is that tax bills are going out at the end of this week or early next week. That's the bad news, I guess. We know it's something that's coming. And the good news is that the liens that we file every August for taxes that remain unpaid at the end of June, fewer liens filed this year than last, only 20 fewer, but still less than last year. Total of 255 liens. You know, the great percentage of those liens, 255, get paid within a matter of a few months. It's the ones that linger, of course, that we end up dealing with sooner or later, but fewer liens than last year. Bills are going out Friday or I think at the latest Monday.
Mike, I think you might have one more item. Two-way traffic.
Two-way traffic is an item that we've talked about, the mayor and I, bringing to the council for a discussion and possible vote in September. The idea being that it's important for the city council, our elected officials, to show an expression of interest in the two-way traffic idea, so that we can apply for funds. So that if we are successful with the funding, then we'll have to make a real decision.
Right.
Do we go with a two-way or not, right?
Right, and the timing right now is that Commissioner Bernhardt would like to get this in his 2-year plan, because the DOT's working on their 2-year plan. The governor's office has been incredibly supportive of this, and so there is a chance for funds from the state to assist with this. And we also do have grant writers, both at the Growth Council and elsewhere, who are ready to pounce on this and get going. But the council needs to express, yes, this is something we're interested in, before we can see if those funds are available to do this.
It's not
And
an
really,
expression of
I mean, it's not even
complete-
worth looking into more studies or anything without that funding to just, you know.
Yeah.
Have we established what particular alternative of the study that we're pursuing as an interest?
I believe the last one that they showed was really just more of a simplified two-way on these two streets. This intersection down here was fairly similar to what it is now, except it did create kind of a green space because of the two-way on Front Street. But we could get those PDFs and send them out, and I'm sure we could put it up on the city website just to make it available for people to look at. And,
Yeah, the public presentation that we had here,
right, that was a while ago.
yeah, in December, I thought we were gonna, if it's not on their website, it should be.
Right.
Yeah, double check. It might already be there.
Should still already be there.
Yeah, so, but I know we talked to, with the opening of Trafton Road, Commissioner Bernhardt was pretty excited to try to get this into his work plan, if the council was interested.
Well, we spent a considerable amount of money gathering the data and studying the options. So we should at least take the next step of really looking at it hard before we say, yes, we'd like to go forward with it or no. But that initial vote would at least let us go down the road of finding out if money is available.
Right.
Can I ask for an update on the Upper Main Street project? Is that gonna continue to be a nighttime project, and are they expecting to be done soon?
It'll be mostly done at night, including the paving. I'm not sure the timeline for the local area, but they are working, I think, on the Fairfield Center, getting some of the shim and base coat down.
Yeah, I believe that's done.
It's all done.
I believe so.
They probably still have to do the wear surface, the final surface out there, but they'll be doing the same thing here, shim, overlay base coat, and then let that set for a week or so, and then they'll come in and do the finished product.
Oh,
But mostly at night.
Okay, they let the base set that long before they come?
Probably, about a week, yeah. And then up near the Elm Plaza is just gonna be strictly a shim overlay. It won't be the mill fill project that the rest of the road is getting in this area.
And Mike, could we also ask the Water District for an update on their project there? Because, and just to make sure that A, they're within the scope of what the city had permitted them to do over right in that old place by the bridge. I mean, it's a total mess. The neighbors are having issues. And it's just going on and on and on. And it's been going on since last October. Could we ask the Water District for an update?
I'm sorry, which spot are you talking about?
Right,
The old district building.
right at the bridge, right by Hamlin's
Oh,
Furniture.
yes.
The booster station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know anything more about that? I don't.
No.
But it's just,
Deserves to be looked into.
yeah.
Complete new pumps, electrical, so I think it's like in October, November, before they're done.
With that equipment in the building?
In the building, outside the building.
But the neighbors need to know, because the city had allowed them to do this. They've dug up the street there.
Yeah.
We need some answers. We need some conclusive, here's the plan to wrap this up, so we can let the
Okay.
neighbors know.
Well, we will check into that.
Great.
Yep. At least find out what their timetable is. If it's that late, people should know.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
The way they were talking in the plan reviews.
Yeah.
Right?
Any other questions of me? If not, I'm gonna turn it over to Patty. Patty and
Sarah. Thank you. Sarah's passing out a summary sheet for you folks to consider. The American Legion building is being sold, as some of you may know. It's currently under contract and likely won't be available to use as a voting location any longer. Even if this sale doesn't go through for some unforeseen reason, this site won't be available long-term. Since this is an off-election year, it's a good time to move forward with a new location and work out the kinks before the gubernatorial election next year. This has been a great working relationship for the past 16 years, and we want to thank the commanders, the members, and the staff for their support and wish them well wherever they end up. The American Legion was a great location for us to use. It had 7,000 square feet. They charged us $700 per election, which was very affordable, and had pretty decent parking, although in a big election, we know it was a little scary. Just a little history. Formerly, Waterville had 5 polling locations before we combined to 1 in 2002. We used the George Mitchell classrooms for wards 1 and 2, the Gilman Street School Gym for wards 3 and 4, the Waterville Junior High Auditorium for ward 5, the Albert Hall School Cafeteria for ward 6, and the Muskie Center was used for ward 7. And all voter registration on election day took place here at City Hall, and we sent people out to the various polling locations from here. The city consolidated to 1 polling place in 2002. I was almost tarred and feathered at that time. Thought it was the craziest idea ever, and people were threatening never to vote again. I think people have long forgotten that, and they embraced the American Legion as the single polling location, and I hope they'll do so with my next recommendation. The administration of elections has changed dramatically over the years. It's now extremely technical, detailed, intense, and highly scrutinized. The days of housewives bringing their knitting needles and their favorite bread recipe to the polls is kind of a day long gone. Workers now face a grueling 15-plus hour workday, which is focused on production and accuracy. Honestly, it surprises me every election that people actually come back to do that work. Honestly, my thanks and appreciation is extended to everyone who works at elections. It's a very important civic function, and I couldn't do it without them. So I'm going to plug right now anyone young or old who can devote time on election day. I would encourage you to give me a call. I offer some training, a few laughs, and some light refreshments, so you would have an enjoyable time. So a couple of presumptions that I'd like to share with you when I approach looking at polling locations. The first kind of a knee-jerk reaction is let's use the schools. We have schools available. We have open gyms at those locations. Let's use the schools. My opinion is that schools are not the answer. It's a hardship for the schools to give up the gym or whatever facility inside their facilities for 3 days. We set up on Monday. I don't want to set up overnight on Monday night to get ready for Tuesday. We set up during the day on Monday. It's cheaper setup costs with the staff. We have the space all day on Tuesday, and then we tear down on Wednesday. So 3 days is a hardship. Bad traffic and parking at every school. And when you add voting to a school function, it makes a dangerous situation, I think, for the students, the parents coming and going, and also the voters. I'll share a little story with the city of Bangor. I consolidated there too. I guess I have a target on my back. We went from 9 polling places to 4. One of the polling places was Bangor High School. We had a voter pull the fire alarm at the high school. It was a nightmare. Let me tell you about a nightmare. The students weren't there, and it was still a nightmare. So we had 200 or 300 voters out in the, spilling out, and we had 4 or 5 fire trucks and people everywhere, and voters coming and going. It was complete chaos. We ended up having to keep the polling place open an additional hour that night because voters appeared to be disenfranchised. I can't imagine what that would have been like with a school full of students. All citizens get to vote, not just the good ones, all of them. So it may not be in the students' best interest to have the public 400 per hour traipsing through the schools. And another consideration is, though they are ADA compliant when you look at a school as a whole, when you're looking at just the portion that we would use for voting, you can't make handicapped voters go in the back entrance, up the elevator, around here, when all the other voters are going in this location. So that has to be considered in addition, because all voters need to be treated alike. The second presumption that I would make is that we want to maintain 1 polling place for elections. We need continuity for the voters. I think that's been something in place for 16 years. If you live in the city of Waterville, you know where you vote. Everyone votes at the Legion. We don't want to have this location for small elections, this one for large elections. This half of the city votes here, but if you move, you have to go over there. That just creates confusion. Another key for having voting at 1 location is all your resources are 1 location. All the voting machines are there. If a voting machine breaks down, You just slide it out of the way and get a technician, and you've got all the other voting machines in place. The best staff is in one place. All the ballots are in one place. The security is in one place. So it's nice to keep it in one location. And there are reduced costs with whatever rental fees we might have, setup costs, and that sort of thing. So when I consider looking at a polling place, I look at the availability for the 3-day period, the overall cost, at least 7,000 square feet, which is what we had at the Legion, which was perfect size. Adequate parking, at least 130, which we had at the Legion. Handicap accessibility, and the reliability of the space going forward. So with that, I would just point out this chart, and I don't know, Sarah, did I have more available? If anyone wants some in the audience, I have some available as well. So the boxes that are shadowed in gray, I mean, we looked at any place that anyone suggested, we considered. I didn't want anyone to say, well, why didn't you look at this spot? And why didn't you look at that spot? So basically, all of these grayed-in spots are places that we didn't seriously consider for a variety of reasons. All Pro Sports had 34 parking spots. The Alphon Youth Center couldn't give up their space for that amount of time. The Armory wouldn't be available if there was a national emergency. The churches that we contacted, when I mentioned about maybe using the space for voting, I said you need to keep in mind that there are times where we have either items on the ballot or petitions that are being circulated that may be against your beliefs for your church, but we still need assurance that we would be able to be there. So of course that would make them a little uncomfortable, and they were not as amenable to that. Colby College doesn't rent out during the school year. The Elks Club couldn't give up the space for that amount of time because they have Beano or Bingo on one of the nights. Faith Evangelical Free Church, same thing. Gilman Street School Gym, I used it previously. It's a nightmare. I didn't really want to consider it, but good news, there's not enough parking there anyway. Hathaway Creative Center, they're using that large space where they have the Festival of Trees for the Antique Mall now, so that wasn't available. The Muskie Center is too small, the Manor is closed, the VFW is too small, and then we have the school. So those are all spaces we considered. Then the viable options were TMB's Outback Tavern up on Jefferson Street in Waterville. Kind of a funky layout inside. It had about 5,000 square feet, but because of the angles and there's bars everywhere, and you lost a lot of space inside. So that really wasn't large enough for a large election. It might have worked for smaller ones, but again, I want that continuity of the one polling place. Champions was another option. They have the 3 tennis court section in there. It could work. It's a big space, good parking. It could get a little busy, I can imagine, with 4,000 or 5,000 cars going in and out of that parking lot during the day. But that was a viable option, so we kept that one on the table. Then we looked at Thomas College. They had the regular gymnasium when you drive into the main entrance, the gymnasium on the right. We looked at that, and then the new field house. The gymnasium was a good spot. It's right across the street from the parking, but it's kind of a walk from that parking lot down the hall to get into the gym entrance, and it's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit smaller than what the American Legion was. So that was an option, and that was $1,125 for the 3 days, and we have to bring our own tables and chairs. The field house, $500 per day, brand new building, 12,000 square feet, huge facility. We can use the whole thing. 192 parking spots, plenty of parking, not too far out of town, level parking lot, no ramps, no handicap accessibility issues. We do need to bring our own tables and chairs. We've spoken with the folks at the Legion, and they're going to be selling a lot of their tables, so we're getting tables from them for $15 a piece and free chairs. So we're going to take care of that as soon as we can. So my recommendation is the Thomas College Fieldhouse. I would just say that the Secretary of State, I did submit this to the Secretary of State's office for their input. They agree with the location, that it's the best facility. They concur with my recommendation. I have to make a decision and give written application to the Secretary of State by September 8th. And formal city council action is not required. However, I would like your approval and your nod of approval, because you may hear from people that aren't happy with that location, and I would like you to know the thought process that went into it, so you have some ammunition when you get those phone calls. You're welcome.
That was a loaded...
I didn't say if, I said when.
So, and thank you for all of the work that you put into this and the work you put into all the elections. My only question is, are you worried at all, and you would know better than anyone here because of the number of elections you've been at, about inaccessibility because of the distance from the downtown, where there might be more people who don't have access to reliable transportation, perhaps. Is that an issue, or do you feel like that's probably not an issue?
I don't think it's necessarily an issue. There may be a few folks that might have somewhat of a hardship, but we do have absentee voting for 30 days before each election. People can call or come into City Hall and vote in person. So that's always an easy out for anyone. The second issue is most people drive to the polls. Not a lot of people are walking, even in the downtown area necessarily. But if anyone does have some transportation issues, they can contact our office. We'll work with the parties to see if we can get some folks to help with rides to the polls if that's a necessity. You know, we're happy to do whatever. But certainly absentee voting, you know, you can request your ballots now and right up through the Thursday before the election, so.
Great.
Yep.
Talked to the officials at Thomas College and mentioned that Colby chipped in for our police cruiser. Maybe they could cut us a deal with the rental of the facility.
I've been working them hard, don't you worry.
I'm trying.
We already cut it down. We already lost the janitorial fee and the table rental fee, so we're getting there.
Thank you, Patty. Appreciate
Thank
the
you,
hard
Patty.
work. And thank
Okay,
you very
good.
much.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.